1, 2. In the quiet, sun-baked town of San Paloma, people talked in hushed voices whenever the name Vincent Calderón was mentioned. He wasn't just rich. He was powerful in the kind of way that made backs stiffen and conversations die mid-sentence. He owned the largest hotel, the most popular restaurant, a chain of stores, and had enough influence to make politicians lower their eyes when he walked by. He was tall, impeccably dressed, his dark suits pressed to perfection, and his expression always unreadable, like he was measuring everyone he saw and finding them lacking. No one greeted him with joy. They greeted him with fear. At Calderón Café, the routine was familiar and heavy, like a ritual. When Vincent walked in each morning at exactly 8:03, the staff stood straighter. The manager, Marta, would rush forward to hold the door, her hands trembling just slightly. Baristas avoided making eye contact. Even customers pretended to be busy stirring their coffee. Vincent enjoyed this quiet dominance. It reminded him of everything he had built, everything he controlled. But on one warm afternoon, the bell above the cafe door chimed, not with the heavy atmosphere of Vincent's arrival, but with the bright ring of something new. A young woman walked in, Isabel, a worn canvas bag over her shoulder, her apron folded neatly in her hand, eyes curious instead of cautious. She had just arrived from another town, hoping to save money and build a future that didn't involve dust and forgotten dreams. She didn't know the whispered rules of San Paloma. She didn't know that here, fear was etiquette. Marta introduced her to the staff quickly, her tone rushed, like she wanted to get the girl trained before anything could go wrong. "And that table," Marta said, her voice dipping to a whisper, "is for Mr. Calderón. Always. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't make mistakes. Don't." But before she could finish, the glass doors swung open and Vincent Calderón himself stepped inside. Marta froze. The staff stiffened instantly. Isabel didn't. She blinked once, taking in the tall man in the expensive coat, and simply said, "Hello." No quiver. No shrinking. Just normal. Vincent paused, not because her greeting was rude, but because it was ordinary, something he hadn't heard addressed to him in years. He looked at her, one eyebrow lifting, studying her in the same cold, assessing way he examined everyone. Isabel held his gaze. Not challenging, not submissive, just present. The cafe went silent enough to hear the soft hum of the espresso machine. "She's new," Marta rushed to explain, voice brittle. "Very new. But Vincent raised a hand slightly, silencing her. His eyes returned to Isabel, and for the first time in a long time, something flickered behind them. Not anger, not annoyance, interest. And Isabel, unaware of the invisible rules she had already shattered, simply tied her apron, tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, and walked behind the counter as though he were just another man. No one had done that in 15 years. The atmosphere shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but like the start of a storm far in the distance, the kind of storm that would change everything. The next day, the cafe hummed with a tension so thick it felt like the air itself was waiting for something to break. Everyone knew Vincent would return. He always did, disciplined and precise as the ticking of the town hall clock. And today, people wondered what he would do about the girl who had spoken to him like he was ordinary. Marta kept glancing at Isabel, whispering warnings as they prepped the morning shift. "Just serve him. Don't look him in the eyes. Don't ask questions. Actually, just let me take his order. Better yet, stay behind the counter." Her voice trembled with a fear built from years of witnessing what happened to those who displeased him. Sudden firings, lost businesses, quiet disappearances from town. Isabel listened politely but didn't seem frightened. She tied her apron calmly, her movements steady. She had seen worse than intimidating rich men. Life had hardened her in different ways no one here understood. At precisely 8:03, the cafe door opened. Vincent walked in, a dark coat draped neatly over his shoulders, his shoes silent against the tiled floor. The room instantly stiffened. Even customers bowed their heads like they feared meeting his gaze might cost them something invisible and precious. But Isabel did not look away. She stepped forward, tray tucked under her arm. Posture relaxed. Vincent took his usual seat by the window. Sunlight framed him like a portrait. Hands folded, expression unreadable. He waited, knowing someone would rush to him, but instead of Marta or one of the trembling waiters, it was Isabel. She stood before him. "Your usual?" she asked softly, as though this were just another interaction between two people. A ripple went through the room, like wind through tall grass before lightning strikes. Vincent's gaze lifted to meet hers. "Do you know who I am?" he asked, voice calm but edged with something sharper. It wasn't arrogance, it was a simple truth he was used to. Everyone knew him. Everyone since he was 21. Isabel tilted her head slightly. "I know you're a customer," she replied. Her tone was respectful but not fearful, not submissive, and that was what caught him off guard. "Most people," he said, leaning back with slow, controlled precision, "show respect." She didn't flinch. "Respect isn't something people automatically owe," she said. "It's something someone earns." The silence that followed that statement was loud. Ears ringing, chests tight, eyes wide kind of silence. The staff froze. A fork dropped somewhere in the back. Someone gasped so sharply it sounded like a sob. Vincent studied her, not with the predatory intensity he used on men who challenged him, but like she was a puzzle. Something unexpected. Something true. Finally, Isabel placed a cup of freshly made black coffee in front of him. She didn't ask what roast. She didn't try to flatter him. She simply set it down like offering a bridge neither of them had asked for, but both now stood before. "Try it," she said gently. "I made it myself." Then she stepped back, not submissive, not afraid, simply present, steady, unbroken. Vincent lifted the cup. For a moment, the cafe leaned into that motion, watching, waiting, bracing. He took a sip, and something shifted, almost imperceptibly, but enough for everyone to feel it in their bones. It was not the flavor. It was not the coffee. It was the realization. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to him like he was a man. Not a threat, not a myth, not a king, and he didn't know whether to be angered or relieved. Days turned into weeks, and the people of San Paloma watched with wary curiosity as a subtle change unfolded. Slow at first, like the quiet shifting of seasons. Vincent Calderón still came to the cafe at the same precise hour, still occupied the window seat with the same measured posture. But there was something different in the air around him. The sharp, tense silence that once accompanied his arrival began to soften, replaced by a cautious murmur of normalcy. He no longer scanned the room like a predator ensuring control. Instead, his gaze often drifted toward the counter, where Isabel moved with calm grace, tying her hair back, laughing softly with the other staff, completely without fear. For Vincent, the cafe had become the only place where the weight of his empire did not press on his shoulders. Here, he was not the man with power to ruin livelihoods, nor the name spoken like a warning. Here, he was simply a man sitting with a cup of coffee, one made by someone who saw him without flinching. One late evening, after closing, the sky outside was rumbling with thunder. A storm rolled heavy over the town, wind scraping against windows, the smell of rain thick and metallic. The cafe was nearly empty, only a few scattered tables left to wipe, chairs left to stack. Isabel moved slowly, humming as she cleaned, unaware, or perhaps unconcerned, that Vincent remained seated in his usual place, now a silent figure watching the patterns of raindrops race down the glass. He wasn't wearing his coat. His tie was loosened. His posture, usually rigid, had softened. He seemed tired. "Storm's strong tonight," Isabel said as she approached, gathering cups from nearby tables. Her voice was gentle, not probing. Vincent didn't respond at first. His jaw tightened slightly, as though he were trying to swallow words he wasn't used to speaking. Finally, he said, low and quiet, "People fear me. They always have." He didn't look at her. He stared at the rain as though it held answers. Isabel set the cups down and stood across from him, but not too close. Not invasive, just present, like she always was. "Do you want them to fear you?" she asked. He hesitated. That hesitation was everything. For years, his power had been a shield, first to protect himself, then to protect what he built, and eventually it became something colder, heavier, and lonelier than he'd ever intended. He exhaled slowly, his voice barely audible. "I didn't. At first." Isabel nodded, absorbing his admission without judgment. "Then let them see who you are now, not who you were then." His eyes lifted to hers. Not cold, not calculating. Vulnerable. Like a door cracked open that he feared someone might slam shut again. "People don't change easily," he said. "No," Isabel agreed softly. "But they can change." The thunder growled outside, shaking the window panes. The cafe lights flickered once, briefly. Vincent stood, slowly, smoothing his coat over his arm. But the air around him was different, lighter, unburdened in a way that felt new. The next morning, San Paloma awoke to whispers. Vincent Calderón held the cafe door open for customers as they entered. He greeted them, not with forced, politeness, but with a quiet sincerity no one had ever seen in him before. The staff, startled, responded carefully at first, but soon with relief. The town, once held tight in the grip of fear, began to breathe. No one understood how or why it happened, but Isabel did. She didn't tear down the powerful man. She reminded the lonely one inside that he was still human. And sometimes, the smallest act of courage, simply refusing to be afraid, was enough to change an entire world.